Sure, of course, there is pressure, but I was very ready to enter Tolkien's world. I'm a huge fan, and I wanted to do right by it. I love the elves. I love all things Tolkien. So it was just for me just an incredible opportunity to just make something very, very, very cool. You know, it's written beautifully, but with a lot of space for me to also be creative.
And your character has a duality.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
This is India Global. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's get you the headlines this Tuesday evening. First up, terrible tragedy in the Jamaica-India bilateral relations get a huge bump up. Prime Minister Modi holds talks with Jamaica Prime Minister, who's on a 4-day trip, the first ever by Jamaican Prime Minister. Energy, technology are the key focus areas of this visit. It's a terrible Tuesday in Thailand, where 20 children are feared dead in a bus crash. 16 children have survived, even as the driver is absconding. The cause of this tragedy remains unknown. The Middle East continues to remain on the edge, with fresh reports coming in of a fresh ground offensive launched by Israel in Lebanon. Hezbollah says that no Israeli troops have entered Lebanon's territory. And a bit of a breather coming in for Pakistan, with its inflation levels now coming under 7%, even as IMF asks Pakistan to reduce and cut the jobs by 1.5 lakhs. Cash-strapped Pakistan now needs fresh round of IMF bailout. All right, the first story that we're tracking on the show, which is the huge bump up as far as the India-Jamaica bilateral relationship is concerned. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness is on a 4-day trip to India. This is the first by a Prime Minister of the Caribbean nation. Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday held a bilateral meeting with his Jamaican counterpart, and India has been a trusted partner in Jamaica's development journey, and it is ready to share expertise in a whole host of areas, whether it's digital public infrastructure, innovation, health being some of them. And then that's what Prime Minister Modi said. On your screens are some of the floral tributes that Jamaican Prime Minister made when he visited India. This is his first ever visit. What does this mean in terms of the ties between India and Jamaica? Remember, Jamaica is also one of the Gimitria countries where indentured labor from India went about 150 to 180 years back. And there are some cultural ties between the two nations across generations. Let's first listen in to what Prime Minister Modi had to say. We also get you the soundbite of the Jamaican Prime Minister. We come back and talk more on this.
Friends, आज की बैठक में हमने कई वैश्विक एवं क्षेत्रीय मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। हम सहमत हैं कि सभी तनावों और विवादों का समाधान बातचीत के माध्यम से किया जाना चाहिए। हम मिलकर वैश्विक शांति और स्थिरता सुनिश्चित करने के लिए अपने प्रयास जारी रखेंगे। भारत और जमैका एकमत है कि यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल सहित सभी ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूशंस में सुधार आवश्यक है। इन्हें समकालीन रूप देने के लिए हम साथ मिलकर काम करते रहेंगे।
As the world's fastest growing economy, energy security is of paramount importance to India. Our shared interests, premised on our respective national targets to diversify our energy mix by 2030, provide a platform for deeper cooperation in this sphere. I am therefore pleased to announce Jamaica's intention to join the Global Biofuels Alliance pioneered by the government of India.
All right, let's get in. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking this visit very closely to tell us more about this, the importance, the significance of this visit. Go ahead, Mohammad Ghazali, explain to us.
Yeah, thanks, Gauri. First of all, this visit is very significant because if you see in the first 100 days of this government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been visiting as well as has invited multiple leaders to India and has gone to many countries. Now, why this particular visit is significant? Because India is not just relying on their Western partners when it comes to business interests, security cooperation, defense cooperation, or maritime security, as well as energy and other sectors through which they can do the business. Here in this particular case, the Jamaican Prime Minister who came here today spoke about the cultural ties of India, that how you were mentioning that around 100 or more than 100 years ago, Indians went there and settled there. Even while addressing the, while both the leaders addressed the press briefing today, the Prime Minister spoke about the cultural connect as well as the connect through sports. And that is why multiple memorandums of understanding have been agreed upon by both the parties. One related to digital payment. Now, this is one area where India has sort of diversified and sort of connected with multiple countries. Even developed countries like Singapore have an MOU with India when it comes to digital payment. There are other countries where Indians can go now and pay in their own currencies. So on those similar tracks, India has also signed an MOU with Jamaica when it comes to digital payment. Besides that, there has been a cultural MOU related to Ministry of Culture of India and their Ministry of Culture in Jamaica, which has signed a 5 years agreement where cultural exchanges will be promoted by both the government. And besides that, there are two other MOUs which is concerning the energy sector and all. But why this is very important, because India is not just looking into the immediate neighborhood or towards the western part, but it is also going towards all those countries through which it can sort of reflect that India is also the voice of global south. So even with the Jamaican Prime Minister, the Indian Prime Minister discussed about the global issues. And thereafter, the Prime Minister spoke that we have discussed regional as well as global issues. But besides that, the bilateral issues which have been discussed are really important for both the countries.
Absolutely. Thanks much for bringing us up to speed with that. And let's quickly now open this up. Let's get in Ruchita Aberi, who's Senior Fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation. And we have Ambassador Sajjanhar to also give us a perspective of why this is so crucial for us. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking out the time and speaking to me on India Global. You know, there are a bunch of issues on which India and Jamaica can collaborate. I think climate is right up there, because that's an area where India can really help and become the voice of global south. Jamaica being one of the countries being impacted by climate change rapidly. But, you know, the questions I want to ask both of you is, first thing, which is how significant this visit is. One, you know, gets consumed by the neighborhood or consumed by large powers, but it is these countries like in the Latin America, in the Caribbean, that are so critical for us. So the importance and significance of this visit. Ambassador Sajjanhar, let me start with you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gauri. I think these countries are extremely important. These visits are extremely important. You know, number one, India has, since it was the chair president of G20, it organized these two Voice of the Global South Summit. So it is really trying to get together all the member countries of the Global South. And Jamaica is an important member. You know, we shouldn't really go only by its population, shouldn't go only by its land area. It might be just 2.8 million, but it really punches much above its weight. And of course, as far as India and Jamaica bilaterally are concerned, we have so much in common. From about the 1840s till about 1925, we had a large number of indentured labor that had gone there. So whether it is people-to-people contact, connect, or it is the cultural connect, that of course strengthens our relations, both also in terms of, you know, both the countries are democratic, they have same historical experiences of being colonized powers. But in the current day context, Gauri, in the modern day context, this relationship is very important. You would have seen that Prime Minister Modi, since the time he has come, he has reached out much beyond what you mentioned, the neighborhood as well as the large strategic partners.
Right.
You would recall that, one of his first visits was to Fiji, and where he collected all the Pacific Island countries, the 14
Right.
of them.
Right.
And in 2015, they came to India also. So here we are basically reaching out, the whole
Yes.
policy of multi-alignment is that you have friendly
Yes.
relations with
Yes.
all countries, and all of them have some niche capabilities.
Absolutely.
And
Let's take them
this
one
we
by
can
one. Let's
share.
take them one by one. Ruchita, let me bring you in on that. Renewable energy being a key area of focus. Talk to us about the kind of collaboration that can take place between India and Jamaica. It's not just renewable, whether you take smart grid, smart mobility, there's a bunch of things that India and Jamaica can explore in terms of collaboration. Talk to us about those.
Yeah, so Global South is looking for partnerships in the energy field. Globally, we are moving towards an energy transition, which is focusing on low carbon fuels. And here, India and Jamaica can partner. During this meeting, the Jamaican Prime Minister said that he is ready to join the India-led biofuel alliance. So biofuels are one area where we can collaborate with Jamaica. Renewables as a whole are important. Jamaica is also a part of India-led International Solar Alliance. So solar energy is another area where India and Jamaica can work together. So the world is moving towards a greener world, and for a small island country like Jamaica, the climate change is an issue which is an existential threat for them.
Absolutely.
So they are really
in fact, that was one of the first things I said, and I want to come back to that in greater detail, which is the fact around climate. If India, as the leader of the Global South, champions the cause of the impact that climate change has on some of these smaller countries, and paves the way in terms of probably providing climate tech, climate funding, I think that could really be of great and lasting significance for countries like Jamaica.
I think that's what is the interest of the Jamaicans also. They are interested in the fact that India is the leader in digital-led solutions. India is the leader in tech-led solutions, in climate change, and together India and Jamaica can can be part of the coalition of the Global South, which is pushing the northern countries to do justice, and there should be action related to climate change. So there is a partnership, a bilateral partnership that we are looking with Jamaica in the sphere of dealing with be together in the global issues related to climate change, and also bilaterally, what can India do?
Or the CARICOM collaboration. Absolutely. Ambassador Sajjanar, you want to come in there, sir? The larger CARICOM India relationship?
Yeah, meaning, that's what the Prime Minister said, that it is the 4 C's that bind us together, whether it is culture, it is Commonwealth, it's cricket. And of course, CARICOM, the Caribbean community. And Jamaica has both in terms of area and also in terms of population, it is one of the significant members of the Caribbean community. So it can really serve as a gateway as far as India is concerned in terms of cooperation. I think we have seen over the last few years that the exchanges between our countries have been quite active, have been quite vibrant. Gauri, this might be the first visit of the Jamaican Prime Minister to India, but our 2 Prime Ministers, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Holness, they have met several times in different capitals on margins of different meetings, and also at the level of the other ministers, our foreign minister, You might recall that,
absolutely.
when
There was
India
also
had
President Covin's visit as well 2 years back
in
to
22,
Jamaica,
yes.
really setting the
Yes.
stage for the kind of relationship. I'm afraid I'm completely out of time. Ambassador Sajjanha Ruchita Beri, thank you so much for speaking to me on India Global. It's a conversation we're going to come back to on another day, but I'm going to slip into a very short break, come back on the other side and talk more about, well, what are India's options in terms of reducing West Asia tensions right now? Can it really play the role of a peacemaker? What all can India do at this stage in a very fluid developing situation? We come back and talk more. Stay with us.
At Direct Line, we know that for multi-property landlords, sometimes the tiniest of things can turn into way bigger problems. From niggly contract issues to keeping up with ever-changing legislation. That's why Direct Line's landlord insurance offers a 24/7 legal helpline as standard. Because a call with someone could help to make the hairiest of problems feel that little bit smoother. Search Direct Line Landlord Insurance. We're on it.
Big deals now on, like £230 off this Zanussi washing machine, now $369. Shop electricals now at ao.com.
Dealing with my lot means making smart choices. And with our family growing, I want to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And could help my husband pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
I'll go ahead.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Sign up and start saving with Quidco today. Get cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco.
I've been thinking, I want to plan my funeral so it feels more like a celebration. My parents always said I was born dancing. I just love it. Bhangra, disco, even line dancing. So when my time comes, I want to have music, dancing, the lot.
With over 150 years' experience, you can count on Co-op Funeral Care to help you pre-plan the funeral you want. To find out more, visit Co-op Funeral Care or give us a call.
Remember this? Can't believe we didn't always wear sun cream.
I know, right? We're too busy having fun.
Number 7's Future Renew Serum, clinically proven to reverse visible signs of sun damage with a world-first peptide technology. Save £10 on Number 7 Future Renew, available at Boots.
You're watching India Global. Thanks much for tuning in. Well, the second debate that we are having right now is the West Asia crisis that is only escalating. There are fresh updates coming in that Israel has launched some limited ground operation inside Lebanon. Now, this has been contested by Hezbollah. Remember, the southern part of Lebanon is pretty much a state within a state where Hezbollah really calls the shots. And they say that Israel has not entered their territory. Having said that, there's now, by all indications, it seems that this is a crisis that may not get resolved immediately and may escalate. Prime Minister Modi did reach out to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and reiterated India's commitment towards peace to resolve this at the very earliest. The question we are asking is that at a time when Israel is looking at limited, localized, targeted ground operations, What are the options that peace has at this stage? Secondly, what kind of a role New Delhi can play in ensuring some of these peace options actually can be tested, can be seen and executed? And lastly, will the camaraderie between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu have role to play in convincing Israel to probably de-escalate after escalating its attack? Okay, let's open this up. Let's quickly get the guests joining me on India Global this evening. First up, Colonel Rajiv Agarwal. Then we have Asif Ramiz Daudi as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to me. Colonel Agarwal, let me start with you, sir. You understand this area very well. You know this territory very well. It is as complex as it can be. Add to it the tensions that it is seeing right now. What are the chances that a possible mediation, a peace settlement can actually be thrashed out at a time when Israel is looking to escalate?
Thank you, Gauri. Thank you for having me. And, this war has escalated into something which is now, to my mind, going beyond control. In the last 15 days, starting from 17 September, when the pager attacks took place, the way Israel has taken advantage of the chaos and confusion in the Hezbollah ranks and inflicted damage after damage, it is unprecedented not only in this war or in modern era, it is unprecedented in any kind of war that I can recall having read so many war histories. And then to take out the Hezbollah chief Nasrallah in a targeted airstrike, simultaneously orchestrating it when Netanyahu was giving his speech in the UN General Assembly is absolutely, brilliant on the part of Israeli intelligence and bizarre as far as the war is concerned. So right now, I do not think that Israel is in a mood to, give away the huge advantage that it has accrued over the last 15 days, or maybe we could say slightly more. And it is hell-bent on, as I wrote yesterday also, on finishing of this threat once and for all.
Okay.
The Hamas is almost eliminated in Gaza. It has made major gains in West Bank right from 27th August.
Right.
And now with Hezbollah, command control communication structure totally eliminated, it is not going to give way so easily.
Right. Okay. Let's ask this to Asif Daudi as well. I agree with some of the facts that Colonel Agarwal said, which is that Israel has been able to, some of its operational and tactical moves in the past have had very high success rates. It has caused a lot of damage to Hezbollah and Hamas ranks. It has also taken advantage of the fact that the US leadership right now is in disarray because President Biden is not contesting. He's pretty much now at the last leg of his presidency. Vice President Kamala Harris is in the midst of an election campaign. So there's a leadership vacuum there as well. But in the midst of that, Asif Daudi, what are the options that are on the table right now to ensure that some sort of a de-escalation can take place? Question one. Question two, I also ask that, if the world is running out of possible mediators, can New Delhi play some sort of a role because of the bonhomie and camaraderie that he enjoys with the Israeli Prime Minister?
Well, Gauri, thank you very much for having me here with you. And you rightly started this debate by saying that, the West Asia crisis, and it's escalating every day. And these two questions from you, these are quite relevant ones. And we know that when the situation arises of this sort, it's very severe, and de-escalation is needed. We must prevent any kind of regional escalation, especially in this region, and especially in this situation when Israel is in a mood not to listen to anyone else, even to the United Nations and the international conventions, where we need to have the restoration of the international convention as well. So especially now after Gaza, now it's Lebanon, and slowly and gradually it's spreading everywhere else. In such situation, as you rightly said, if there is a lack of proper mediators, especially when we have elections in the US, and Joe Biden is in his last legs for this, So in this situation, I think India can definitely play a very important role, especially when Prime Minister Modi has a very good chemistry and, kind of relation.
So how much do you read into the phone call that was made between Prime Minister Modi and his Israeli counterpart, where India did put out its position very clearly that it stands with peace, but at the same time, it does, of course, want that terror infrastructure should be dismantled. So how do you read the phone call, the significance, and what could be the next steps from here on for India and Israel?
That's in fact a kind of usual cause. And it's not the first time Prime Minister Modi has interacted with his counterpart in Israel. Perhaps it was four times in the past from 7th of October until now. So we have not seen any major changes or proper impact of this, but especially at this moment, when we talk about India supports peace. Most of the sensible countries in the world, they always support the regional peace, international peace, security, restoration of all these rules and laws, and how we follow the warfare rules, etc. At the same time, terrorism, as you said, is a big challenge and big task. So when we have these kinds of situations, when Prime Minister Netanyahu is not ready to listen to anyone, and when the entire world, even United Nations, even the French president, He on Thursday, he said that it's not wise if there is a kind of escalation in Lebanon.
No, I agree with the fact that there is global pressure on Israel to probably now de-escalate. I feel this is escalating so that you de-escalate on your own terms. That's one. Second, there's also a fact that Israel has 7 war fronts right now. There are 7 fronts on which it is fighting, and if it doesn't project power right now, then it impacts both Israel as well as, of course, Netanyahu's leadership. So there are 7 war fronts that it is taking up all these terror groups on. But from here on, Mr. Dawoodi, if one were to talk in terms of next steps for India to possibly engage in a meaningful way, this is also a region where India now has a fairly large exposure. It's a stakeholder, whether you take some large infrastructure projects like IMEC and some of the others, it has a reasonable stake. It's a big stakeholder there. So how can it use its heft and its leverage in this region?
Well, there are 2 parts in your question. Now, let's start with Israel, as you said, they have to show their power. It's one thing, but can this be done at the cost of the thousands and, let's say, tens of thousands of human lives, especially women and children? And doesn't it look like a personal kind of things when you say that, he has to look at the electoral part of it? The other part is like how India can play a role in this.
Yes.
As I said, India at this moment is one of the major players in the world.
Absolutely.
Especially in vision, and every other country, you go anywhere, they do not only give the highest civilian award to our Prime Minister,
right,
but at the same time, they are listening to our thoughts, and
that's the most important fact, that India's message for peace, for restraint, and for dialogue is now being given its due importance and it's being heard. I'm completely out of time, Mr. Dawoodi. I take your point about some of these aspects. Remains to be seen what happens next as far as Middle East is concerned. As I said, Israel is now looking to escalate it further so that it can de-escalate it later on its own terms. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives. And after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
Wow, that money could help with funeral costs or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
He's going to be named after his granddad.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 470 4444 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
And now joining us are Ismail and Tyro. A very warm welcome to NDTV. My first question to you, Ismail. Of course, your character is a new addition to Tolkien's world. Was there any pressure or did you take any inspiration to develop the character, or was it written so well that you didn't have to do much?
No, there is pressure, of course. There is pressure. But I was very ready to enter Tolkien's world. I'm a huge fan, and I wanted to do right by it. I love the elves. I love all things Tolkien. So it was just, for me, just an incredible opportunity to just make something very, very, very cool. You know, it's written beautifully, but with a lot of space for me to also be creative.
And your character has a duality. There's fear, there's bravery. How did you plan to navigate it? Did you do any exercises? Were you doing any notes to play that kind of...
This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV. This is...
He will not resign, as Muda chief says they will take legal advice on the CM's wife's letter. A Lokayukta team, meanwhile, visits the sites which are at the centre of this case against the chief minister. Congress opposes Ram Rahim's parole rights to EC. Ram Rahim likely to walk out of jail today. Congress writes to the Election Commission opposing the parole given to rape convict Ram Rahim before the upcoming elections in the state. Citing concerns over his large following, the Congress party says it fears Ram Rahim could influence voters, impact election fairness. Kolkata doctors resume their cease work strike, say the Bengal government failed to fulfill promises linked to their security. The Bengal government, however, has said that the security mechanism for the doctors is being upgraded in various stages. Doctors march in Kolkata. J&K polls, voter turnout rises to 65.48% till 5 p.m. Final phase of polls across 40 seats, 65.48% voter turnout till 5 p.m. in Jammu and Kashmir as the Union Territory sees the last phase of election with polling across 40 seats. In his last rally ahead of Haryana polls, Prime Minister takes on the Congress party, says Congress's politics is limited to false promises, reminds them of Madhya Pradesh. The Prime Minister has also said that Congress overconfident like it was in Madhya Pradesh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching NDTV. In a significant development in the Muda scam case, Parvati, who is the wife of Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, has now voluntarily surrendered 14 plots of land that were previously allotted to her by the authority. Now, hours after she made the statement, Karnataka BJP took a dig at the Chief Minister, asking whether a thief becomes innocent as soon as he returns the stolen goods. Now, Siddaramaiah, meanwhile, has said that he respects his wife's decision, and he has said that she had to suffer mental harassment due to the political vendetta that was pursued against him. That is what he has claimed. Now, Parvati decided to surrender these 14 sites that were allotted to her in Mysuru after the Enforcement Directorate yesterday booked Siddaramaiah in connection with the Muda case. Remember, this decision to surrender the plots comes also in the wake of FIR being registered with the Lokayukta and the ED regarding land scam allocations made in the favour of the CM and his wife. So was this an afterthought? What took the Chief Minister so long to take this call? Is there really pressure building on him to resign? And is he going to resign? And how is the BJP looking at all of this? This is what we will discuss tonight. Of course, we will be joined by a panel of experts. But first, here's a report.
Hours after the ED booked a money laundering case against Karnataka CM Siddaramaiah, his wife Parvati, the controversial beneficiary of compensation plots in the alleged Muda scam, wrote a letter offering to surrender the 14 compensatory plots at the center of the controversy back to Muda. The letter read, "No house, plot or wealth is more important than my husband's honor, dignity, and peace of mind. Please do not drag women of political families into the controversy to settle political scores. The move is aimed at both blunting the sharp political demand for his resignation and negating the damage to Siddaramaya's image, as this is the strongest accusation of corruption against him in his political career.
I don't know on what grounds money laundering. Nan prakara money laundering agalla. Matte what is my role? So adikke mana nondu ನನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಬಟ್ ನನಗೆ ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿ ಪತ್ರ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ತಪ್ಪೆಂಗೆ ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗಾಯ್ತು ಆದರೆ ನಾನು ತಪ್ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು
That's being investigated. That's independent of returning the sites by the wife of the or the person who has been beneficiary which they allege. But what matters is that the truth or veracity of the allegations that need to be done, they're properly being investigated, need to be looked into.
Meanwhile, the Lokayukta officials in Mysuru began inspecting Siddaramaya family's 3.16 acres of land that Muda acquired. The Muda chief will also seek legal advice on the restitution offer by the chief minister's wife.
ಹೌದು ನನ್ನ ಕೈ ಸೇರಿದೆ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ಅವರ ಪುತ್ರರು ಆದಂಥ MLC ಆದಂಥ ಯತೀಂದ್ರ ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಚೇರಿಗೆ ಭೇಟಿ ನೀಡಿ ಪತ್ರ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಪತ್ರನ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ತೊಗೊಬೇಕು ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈಗ ಅದು ನೋಡಬೇಕು, ನಾನೆಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆಯಿಂದ ದಸರಾ ಪ್ರಿಪ್ರೇಷನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಇದ್ದೆ.
Karnataka CM Siddaramaya had earlier refused to return the compensatory plots but has now reversed the decision. The return request may have no legal bearing now, but Karnataka CM Siddaramaya will have to continue fighting both the financial as well as the political storm of the Muda case. With camera person Kumar, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Okay, joining me now is Shatabesh Shivanna, who's the spokesperson of the Congress party. We have Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda, who represents the BJP. We also have Ramakrishna Upadhyay, who is a senior journalist and also a political analyst. Mr. Shivanna, you know, this is a question we've been asking for a long time. First of all, thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Starting with you, Mr. Shivanna, you know, when we talk about the 14 sites of land and the compensation, and what Muda was saying, that there are no developed areas in Devanuru layout. That's what we all saw. And in exchange of some prime lands, you know, these were provided in Vijayanagar. If the CM was so particular about his integrity and the fact that he has enjoyed that kind of reputation, why did the family insist on compensation? And this whole decision to say that I don't want this, I'm giving it back, this announcement could have come much earlier.
No, see, now we are talking about a land that was given as a cultural gift to the wife of the chief minister by her own brother in 2010, right? In Kannada, we call it as Harshna Kunkuma. And, you know, it's their land. I can pull out an entire legal chart and I can give you a legal opinion as to how they are the rightful owners of the property. Right from 2004 to 2010 to 2014, the gift deed, sale deed, conversion, everything is in their name. And then for the Muda to illegally acquire these sites and, you know, carve out sites and allot it to some random persons is prima facie illegal. Now, when 3 acres, 16 guttas of my land is taken away without following due process of law by the Muda authorities, then where should the person who is aggrieved go? So they make a representation to the authority and the authority says, but listen, we can't give you land here.
To even look at the CM's wife as an aggrieved person or a vulnerable person is really far-fetched because, you know, he's the chief minister. These are 14 prime lands. There was always a controversy about the denotification, whether it will belong to an SE person or not. So clearly there were so many controversies and this is something that your party could have predicted or anticipated, isn't it?
No, I mean, irrespective of whether he is the chief minister or not, there is a woman who has lost property that was gifted to her by her brother through which was given culturally.
So she's the CM's wife and he's been in politics for
one
so
second.
long.
Let me finish.
Yes, finish.
Let me finish. Please, and we are talking about a woman, you know, who found joy and happiness in supporting her husband's political growth by standing from a distance. She has never been seen or spotted in the public fora. She never insisted on any materialistic benefits, and it is condemnable to drag her name and reputation, for mere political gain. Acknowledging this, realizing this, though the land legally belongs to her, not giving it away for a moment that I'm legally entitled to these plots. She acknowledged that the political games, and she made an independent decision to hand over the sites, to surrender the sites. And mind you, the CM makes a categorical statement. Though in law I am correct, though in law I am entitled to compensation. These compensatory sites were given by the previous BJP dispensation. We didn't ask them to give it in this particular Vijayanagar in an upmarket area.
Right.
We said, you have taken our land, please return whatever is possible. And the BJP the dispensation takes a decision to allocate this particular land.
Okay, that's an important point. Let me ask the BJP spokesperson here. Ms. Gowda, Karnataka has been the land of adjustment politics. We have seen that even in the distribution of tickets. And finally, this is, this is coming back to you in some ways, although the scrutiny is on the Chief Minister, the fact that the land was allotted to him in the BJP regime, and that Muda, has been under scrutiny, and there are various land deals that have often come about, not just in Muda case, but also there are these beneficiaries across parties. There are, be it DK Shivakumar or BSY, there are these favors that politicians keep doing to each other, at least in the state of Karnataka. Do you think that this is also the time for you, for the BJP to think beyond adjustment politics, because otherwise this case may not have the kind of impact that you are hoping for?
Thank you, ma'am. The attainment of the moral turpitude of Mr. Siddaramaiah is so much obvious, not just to the people of Karnataka, but to the whole India. And now he is becoming a blot to the Indian democracy because he has been referring himself as the champion of the social justice, champion of the Ahinda people, champion of the Dalit people. It is so shame on him that he has plucked away the land which is supposed to belong to SC/ST people, and he is involved, and his family members are directly involved in the scam, which is to the tune of 4,000 to 5,000 crores. Now, once the Enforced Directorate has made an entry, he has become so much alert, and he has become so much restless, and he has become so much alert that he has prompted his wife to write a letter to return the land. What was he doing all these days? And taking the morality and taking the moral high ground. Why didn't he return all these days? Why did he do all that hue and cry? And it doesn't mean that he will miss that legal trial. He will have to duly miss the legal trial. He has prompted his wife to write a letter.
But Ms. Gowda, let me also ask you, I point noted, yes ma'am, point noted, but let me also ask you, this Muda controversy has been playing out for the last many months, but Siddaramaiah has repeatedly denied the charges. The Congress doesn't seem to be in a mood to really force him to resign. He's saying that he's being targeted politically. He's a non-dominant, non-Lingayat, non-Vokaliga face, an Ahinda face. So clearly there are limitations to your attacks also. And, will your victory just end at the CM's wife writing a letter to Muda, because it doesn't look like he's going to resign now, at least now?
See, if you see the history of Congress, they have made Mr. Bangarappa to resign. They have made Mr. KP George to resign. They have made Mr. Nagendra in the Valmiki Corporation scam to resign first and to face the trial later. Why can't Mr. Siddaramaiah take the same stand? He is the so-called the guardian of the constitution. Why is he behaving so unconstitutional?
Okay, Mr. Upadhyay. Yes, sir. You heard both the political people speak out what what was on their mind. As an expert, do you see that there has been some damage, some significant damage to the personal image and reputation of Siddaramaiah? And do you see him stepping down anytime soon? And what kind of social, moral, political pressure is he facing in the state, not just by his own political bosses, but also people?
Vasudha, I think till last evening, he was confident that he will, just sail through somehow. But once the Enforcement Directorate came into the picture and they've registered a money laundering case, I think that is when the CM's office or the CM's coterie panicked. So, it was around 7:15 when the announcement was made by the Enforcement Directorate coming in. And about 10:15, the letter of Parvati was released to the media saying that she's surrendering the sites. This he could have done 3 months back before all this became public and, became a controversy. He could have said, I don't know what my wife and her brother have done, and I'm not involved in any way. And he said, if there is any irregularity, I would like to, surrender them. He never did that until, the ED entered yesterday. That is point number 2. Point number one. Point number two is that, they know once the ED enters, they will go into the entire gamut of the scandal that Muda is involved in. More than 5,000 crores is what the allegation is against the Muda. That, Mr. Siddaramaia's wife is not the only, beneficiary. There have been hundreds of other beneficiaries, and all that will now have to come out. And there is a lot of talk about illegal money being involved in acquiring the sites and then giving the alternate sites and all that. And secondly, Mr. Siddaramaia's claim or Mrs. Siddaramaia's claim of compensatory land itself is in a big question, because she got it from a brother in 2010 who bought it in 2004. But Muda had acquired the so-called 3.16 acres of land in 2001 itself and developed it into a layout. There was no agricultural land left when she made the claim in 2014 before the Muda, saying that you have to compensate me with the 14 sites.
Right.
So the whole thing has come out in the High Court. All these documents are available. Now Mr. Siddaramaiah realizes that once the ED enters into the picture, he cannot manage the investigation, because as long as it's Lokaayukta, he can still manage, because the police conducting the investigation for Lokaayukta is controlled by the CM's office.
Right. Mr. Shivanna, there are very valid points that Mr. Upadhyay is making. Is it because Mr. Siddaramaiah thinks that now the investigation has gone beyond his control? Because if you look at, his actions, he moved the Karnataka High Court challenging the governor's decision for his prosecution, but the court did, court held that, a governor can independently give permission to prosecute a chief minister or even a minister if there's a likelihood of bias. That's what I remember the court saying. Do you think that the Congress underestimated the reach of courts, Lokaayukta, even for that matter, ED? Do you think that your party could have handled this better?
No, firstly, I would like to rebut what Mr. Upadhyay was saying on facts. Today the technology has advanced to such an extent that we have satellite images from 2003, 2006, 2021. And he says with so much rigor that the sites were already acquired, developed, and whatnot. Roads were built in 19... One second, sir. I did not interrupt. I did not interrupt you. Please give me that courtesy. I did not interrupt you. Please give me that courtesy.
Okay, let him finish. Mr. Upadhyay, I'll come back to you, sir. I'll come back to you.
He said the roads were built, everything was done, 19 people were allotted the sites. These very 19 people in the year 2016 filed a writ petition saying we had deposited money into the Muda for allotment. When we went and saw the lands, there is absolutely nothing. It's just agricultural land, and that matter is pending. I will place it before you. And while I maintain that this is a political conspiracy, we are not scared of the Enforcement Directorate. Rather, I would call it the Enforcement Directorate as a branch of the Bharatiya Janata Party, or more appropriately, the election demolition branch of the Bharatiya Janata Party, whose modus operandi is to, swoop in where there are democratically elected governments, and they demolish them. And, from 2014 till 2024, if you see, they only target leaders of the political opposition.
But sir, what about the courts here? And the courts are saying that this is too bleak a contention meriting any acceptance, and that, Siddaramaiah cannot be just the person behind the curtain. So clearly, it's the court also there, right? So, of course, the investigation has to flow out now.
1 second. Now, the court only said, please make way for an investigation. We have never shied away from an investigation. But you see the manner in which...
But you have also removed the power of CBI to probe into, so whatever is, whatever the state government can do, you're doing that, right? Isn't that something?
See, let me complete. We have never shied away from an investigation. I don't know why people don't believe that Lokaayukta is an independent agency. They're doing their job. We are the ones who constituted a PN Desai inquiry commission who's looking into all the irregularities within the Muda, and this particular CM sting was never a part of the reference made by to the inquiry commission. And now how the governor has acted in haste, how the ED has swooped in, how the CBI wants to come in, is all indicative of political conspiracy to destabilize a democratically elected government.
Okay, Mr. Upadhyay, you wanted to say something.
Democratically elected chief minister,
yes, Mr.
who is a champion of the people.
Okay,